find a structure and keep to that structure. So every classroom, virtual classroom should have a folder that tells you where to get help. Every virtual classroom should have like a folder that's labeled with the week, and then inside of that you should have checklists so your students know what they have to do, and everything should be very clear, laid out, and you should follow that format every single time so you're not changing it on them, and that things are very easy for them to find. So I look at it that way as well.
I think that's a great point. Again, when we talk about online learning and structures, as a person who's currently working on a doctorate, it's a completely online program. And I think the structure, like you said, like, so every week I know here's my go-to. Every week, one of my teachers will have like what he called the Monday memo, right? So every Monday we get a video from our teacher, right? And he recaps the things that we've covered. This is the expectations for the week. And I think those things may seem simple, but very important, especially again, if we're talking about flexibility and equity, every student may not be logging on. And if we're truly doing this with an equity lens, even if I didn't log on, I know what the expectation is for the week. I know what was covered. I had a summary, and I can click on that video if I was there or not there, because maybe I was there and still missed something. I can go back and look at that summary. So I think that setting up that online folders outside of it, making it all cutesy and inviting, which is one part of it, is also the structure, keeping in mind for all students have access, and it's very helpful, I guess, for the parents or anyone else assisting those students, right? This is what the expectations for the week, here's all the assignments, the same way you would do in your face-to-face in many classrooms, where you would have a folder for student was out, here are the week's activities, right? So there are some components that we do face-to-face that we can transfer over that work well. It's just going to look a little different. And there's some things that we need to modify and balance because it is an online situation.
I also would suggest too that you look and see what your district has put in place. Like, we have put in place parameters for what every Schoology classroom has to have in it, and how it should be laid out, like with that help folder and with that checklist and with the dated folders. And so see if there is something that is in your district already that is going to give you a nice framework for how to lay your classroom out.
And I would also say, even though we're in this online environment, and sometimes we have this physical distancing, reach out to other teachers on your teams, in your schools, in your district, because you don't have to work in isolation. I mean, to a degree, while we're physical, there's something about the virtual spaces also allow us to be able to collaborate, I think, a little bit more and in different ways, right? To build those relationships. So don't feel like you have to do it alone as well. Reach out to some of your colleagues.
I think that's the best advice ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Because I think we forget, and I think, like I said, when you're structuring, give yourself grace, because people forget, like, people didn't choose to be working at home right now. You know what I mean? Like we're in the midst of a pandemic, right? And so I think teachers also need to be mindful that you are more than just the teacher. Like, that's just one of your identities. You're probably a mom or spouse, kids, all this, and you're trying to also probably assist with things that's happening in your household as well. So also be kind to yourself in all of that. I think, because I think we forget and we beat ourselves up as teachers because we, want to do all this, but give yourself some grace.